AM 1510, Cocoa, Melbourne.
It's 1 o'clock.
Ed Dean, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. on FM 99.9, 94.7, and 100.7.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, your host for Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. We are a program designed to inform, educate, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors with resources. We believe strongly that if you don't know about the services that are available, you don't need to, you won't be able to ask about them. And if you don't ask about them, then the programs that are provided for by the state under the Older American Act of 1965, which have been in existence for many years, for one reason, and the reason is to help people that need help. And if you don't know about those programs, you're not going to ask about them, so you stand a pretty good chance with the incoming administrations to have some of these funds cut, reduced, and that's the wrong way to go. We don't need to start new programs. We just need to do a better job of managing the old programs, and that's what this radio show has been about for years. We try to help people get to what they need, and the way we do that is we have talk radio shows, we have television shows, we have columns in the newspaper, and we have an office, and we talk to people, and we send people to other people to get the right kind of help. We're kind of like a broker. We're not in competition with any organization in town, and the reason we're not in a competition with anybody is because we don't do the same thing they do. We do something different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. My panelists today are John Harper, who is the radio station owner. John's been doing this with me actually since 1994. And Carrie Fink, who's the new executive director, and I'm finally, after many years, I'm going to step back and let Carrie do it. John is the vice president of the organization. I'm still the president. But I want to remind some people we're getting so many sponsors that I'll mention some of the sponsors at the beginning, during, and then at the break I'll mention some more sponsors. But it's getting harder and harder. But we try to do a better job of letting you know who our sponsors are through Senior Scene Magazine, through a list we have on our internet. You can go to our internet site, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. You can put up all we're doing. This radio show will be archived by tomorrow night, and you can go back and check, and you can say, I can't believe John Harper said that. Well, you'll be able to find out John Harper really did say that because his voice will be on the radio station. And to give you an example of how this works, Carrie told me yesterday that there's a new program starting across the United States, and when you get into business, that I don't know what John and Carrie know about all the streaming and all the stuff on the internet and everything, but Carrie told me, he said, yeah, if you call this number, I sent the last 2 shows out there, and it's free, it doesn't cost a cent, and I'm listening to this guy talk, and I said, holy smokes, how did he ever find about that woman over in Mobile, Alabama to send these medicines to? And I got to thinking, hell, that sounds like me. And it was me. It was a radio show that we did here at the radio station. Carried, put it across this, and anybody in the world now that has that phone number, and I don't know if I can remember it offhand. I'll try during the show to remember it. Anybody has that phone number, you can pick it up. It's in the process of being refined. When you get on the beginnings of different things, you become something like a pioneer. And John, you've been in radio a long time, so has Carrie, but in your work here in Brevard County with the many nonprofits, and not just helping seniors, but you've helped the Alzheimer's program, you helped Betsy when she had the early intervention program, you've helped so many organizations. How do you feel about being the vice president of the organization Helping Seniors, your radio station involved in developing senior leadership in a county which is something that's drastically needed? How would express your opinion on that?
Well, I think, Joe, first of all, it's a labor of love of doing something like that. Secondly, being specific about helping seniors of Brevard, there are many organizations throughout our area, throughout the state, throughout the nation that I could align myself with and be a part of. And over the years, I've been very selective as far as which organizations I do align myself with. I was one of the architects of the Make-A-Wish Foundation in South Florida. That organization started on the executive director's kitchen table and expanded to the point where when I left, it was the third largest Make-A-Wish organization in the country. But I'm digressing a little bit here.
No, that's good. This is what people need to know, this background.
But my point is, Make-A-Wish always was and still is very dear to me. Because of those early years and what I saw go into the Make-A-Wish program. And I learned a lot from that because for every dollar that was donated to the Make-A-Wish program, something like, at that time, 82 cents went back into the program of creating wishes for the children and young people who were involved. So I was always very impressed with that number, and therefore I've looked for similar programs over the years that can come up with that type of a return on what is donated, and that's why Helping Seniors of Brevard, one of the few organizations that I believe that strongly in outside of the Make-A-Wish program. So from kids to seniors, but I've kind of got it covered there on both ends of the spectrum. But Helping Seniors of Brevard, very fulfilling.
But you raised the very point that more of our listeners need to understand. Seniors do not try to take away from juniors, nor do the juniors try to take away from the seniors. Seniors at one point were juniors. Juniors someday will be seniors. We need to do a better job of connecting these programs and building the link between the juniors and seniors so that we can do a better job of making sure both programs get served, because children need help to become adults. And once you're an adult, you slowly regress to your childhood years, and you need help as you wind your life down.
Well, it's very interesting, Joe and Carrie, and for our audience, when I started back in those early days with the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Miami, it was so early on in the organization that many corporate sponsors did not want to be involved, even though they wouldn't specifically say it. They didn't want to be involved with dying kids. It wasn't something that was considered fulfilling to them. They wanted to go with bunnies and balloons and give it to other types of organizations, give their money to other types of organizations. It's interesting to note how that has dramatically changed as far as the mindset of individuals and organizations throughout the country and their willingness to donate to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm hoping that Joe, you, Carrie, and myself will be able to see the same type of thing evolve and develop with corporations wanting to get involved with seniors, because it's coming full circle from the kids to the seniors, as you just mentioned, Joe.
Yeah, and so many of our current corporations, they're willing to give couple $1,000, but a couple $1,000 in this day and age, if you get enough couple $1,000, you can do something, but it takes a lot of time to put small donations together to help people. And I think a real true test, don't worry, Carrie, we're going to let you talk. We're going to let you
I'm
talk.
enjoying the conversation.
We're going to let you talk.
Good.
But John and I, we enjoy. We've known each other longer than we've known you, so we'll let you talk in just a second. But the real joy, John, is exactly what you said: getting more people to understand how a little bit of participation from them can help a cause become so capable of serving others. And I listened to our president talk last night in Nashville, Tennessee, talking about the Affordable Care Act. You know, everybody that would like to think that they know which side is right. Let me just give you a real quick example. I'm never going to let Gary talk. I talked, and folks, this is an honest-to-God true story. I talked to a tax preparer yesterday, and she said to me, she said, Joe, people don't realize how they're being led one way with this care business. She said, I just did a tax return for a woman that made $16,000. Of that $16,000, $286 a month were her insurance costs. And when you start thinking about that, folks, that's roughly $3,000 out of that $16,000. She still had a car to pay for, run, place to live, food, life insurance, and all kinds of stuff that they have to pay. You know, it's not just what the Democrats and Republicans are saying. It's got to be more. We got to work together. And I think the president last night made a comment about we got to forget the R and the D business, and we got to start thinking about being Americans and how we can work together to help each other. Because he said that's a true test of the system. Gary, your turn. You can talk now.
No, it's a valid point because there's been so many. It almost doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. It does sound like everybody agrees that we need to do a better job for seniors. And I've heard a lot of people talk about the challenges of the repeal and replace and how it may affect Medicare funding. And that's way above my pay grade in terms of the things that I understand. Except that I know that our role is that we have to be there and advocate for seniors because, as you know, Joe, when we take those calls on the senior information line, we quite often are talking to people who are trying to survive on $16,000 a year or much, much, much less. And then they're trying to make a system work while everybody in D.C. is trying to debate what's the best approach. These people are having to live and eat every day on $90 a week or whatever that number is. And I think that the best thing, I always call us the little engine that could, because we're a small organization, but we have a huge, huge footprint, really thanks to media. You know, thanks to John and the radio station here, 50,000 watts, which blankets this entire region. The FM signals, the online signals like we were talking about, the TV programs that you do, the media you do, we reach people all over the county who may never even know of a program unless they hear it through the media. And this is my point. Somebody who's living on $90 a week, if they become aware of an option that impacts them personally, we've just impacted that person's life. And it goes back to what John was saying earlier with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. What you did that was so brilliant with that, in developing that, was you took something that was very hard for people to grasp and find a way to attach to, because if you think about it, a child dying is a very somber thing. But if you can find some glory in it, which is exactly what you guys did with Make-A-Wish, then that makes, think about how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of families the work that you guys started there has impacted. I believe the same destiny for helping seniors. Part of the challenge is people are scared of all these issues. And what you do, Joe, is you confront those things head on. You show people that there is hope, there is a way, there is a direction. In spite of whatever they may turn on the news and see, there still are things that you can do right now locally that might give you a new sense of hope.
Well, picking up on what you and John have both said, on the information and education side of it, I firmly believe that we have roughly half of our population of 545,000 people in Brevard County that are seniors. That's a lot of seniors. Actually, we're the 24th oldest county in the United States in terms of the number of people over the age of 65. That's a significant number. But what is significant that so many of the seniors, unless they're really poor seniors, don't realize the need for the type of programs that we we propose to our callers. Example. One organization in town gets roughly $150,000 from the state to provide respite care. Respite care is something that gives a caregiver a break from a very tedious, time-consuming routine. And you think about it, folks, if you're in a care-giving business, when you're exhausted and tired, you're susceptible to getting sick yourself. And once you do that, who takes care of you? And more importantly, who takes care of the person that you were caring for? So the name of the game is to do all we can to keep all the elements of care able to perform their function. And we have so many state-funded and federal-funded programs. If we can direct those dollars to cost-effective use, we do a lot more. And I can remember many, many years ago and I did think about it because the county commissioners asked me, he said, Joe, if you were in charge of the whole thing, what would you do? I said, if I really told you what I would do, I would have a lot of friends that would not like me, and probably some of you would question my sanity. And one of the commissioners says, what do you see? What do you mean? I said, what I mean is this. I would eliminate some of the top infrastructure, and I would take all the money going for the overhead, and I'd do my very, very best to drive that down into money going for services. Because how many big buildings with overhead and grass cutting services and benefits and payroll and all this stuff, how much of that do we really need when when you get into the business of monitoring older American Act dollars, Florida state dollars, all the care dollars, local dollars, United Way dollars, and the dollars that citizens contribute themselves. And we'll talk about on the program, a program we're starting to try to get people to help us. But honesty and truth are so important. And that, John, you hit that right on the nose when you talked about why you do what you do and who you support. You wouldn't support somebody unless you felt they were honest and that the money they were using would be used for the right thing.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many organizations that I could attach my name to. And I'm not saying there aren't many, many wonderful organizations that are helping so many people, but Helping Seniors of Brevard serves a very real, a very specific purpose. And it's kind of like those early infancy days of the Make-A-Wish Foundation back in the 80s when I was associated with that. I see Helping Seniors of Brevard kind of in the same light. Again, creating awareness, creating a buy-in factor that was difficult to come by in those early days of Make-A-Wish because people didn't want to be associated with kids who were ill or something like that. And I think we experience many of the same feelings, Carrie and Joe, when we're talking to people trying to help our organization. Well, they say, yeah, that's great, and we're glad you're doing it, but they want to keep an arm's distance. They really don't want to necessarily know that people need help, and they're living on a very, very tight budget. As you said, Joe, some people $90 to $100 a week.
Yeah. Well, and Carrie, and I want you to pick up what I'm saying here, is that we try to do the most we can to get many of our services donated. John, you contributed the time for this radio station for many years. You're doing it again. We have other organizations that donate us office space. We have a phone system that costs us something like $44 a month, and that phone system can be picked up and moved any place to anybody's house or anybody's office, and it reaches out worldwide and U.S. wide, and that's a heck of a bargain. Of course, I haven't taken any money, so that's enabled us to do it, but I do it for the reason you said. I love what I'm doing, and I feel that, somebody made a statement that, you can have all the worldly possessions from Hong Kong and from Japan and from the Far East and all this stuff I collect in my Navy travels, but all that stuff is going to stay here when I go to meet my Maker. But whatever we do good, like we're talking about today, I think that's something that God will take a good, kindly look at and say, you did the very best you can to help your brothers, and you can take that with you. And people, go ahead, Shake, go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, no, I'm in 100% agreement, because again, what I think helping seniors is amazing at doing is creating hope out of hopeless situations. And what that means to me is somebody calls in, and it's almost a poster we ought to post on the wall. We have a lot of good programs in the county that people do a lot of hard work to make go. But if a person is not aware that that's an option to them, then it's of no good at all. And we tell the baloney story. A lady that is having to make a decision about whether she's going to take medicine or she's going to eat. I mean, what a horrible situation to try to make that kind of a call. Which is it? Do I take medicine or do I eat? And surviving on a bologna sandwich, and didn't even know that there was a Meals on Wheels option. And so our little organization literally dramatically changed that person's life by simply, it's one green shoot that gives them a reason for hope. How many times has Kay talked with a widow of a veteran who is at her wit's end, and then through that simple process of explaining about a program that they had no idea existed, dramatically changes that person's life.
Well, I got another veteran program. I want to just remind me to talk about it after the break, because something else has just been highlighted by our government. I wasn't aware of it. You will be aware of it. I know you will be. We got 30 seconds till we get to music. Got another comment, quick, character?
No, I was just going to say, when we come back on the break, I literally want to read you an email I literally received on the way up. The word about helping seniors is really already spreading nationally. So this is a general manager of a radio station in Dallas, Texas, who emailed me because he's got a mother and a father living here locally, and he needs some help trying to figure out how to help them. And
that's the kind of thing.
Helping seniors.
Okay. We're almost going to get into the break, but we're not going to waste any time. I asked Carrie John yesterday, how many calls have we gotten for our newsletter? I was astounded. Carrie told me that there have been 907 requests from people that are hearing about us. They've asked to have our monthly newsletter emailed to them. That's significant when you're talking about 907 newsletters. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. And at least John and Carrie are still smiling. I haven't bored them yet, and our panelists just showed up. But you can still, we'll let the panelists talk afterwards. Okay, take a break.
It's the Talk to Me Network on AM 1510, FM 99.9, 94.7, and 100.7.
Hi, folks. This is Joe Stecker. We're back live for the second half of the Helping Senior program for this Thursday. Remember, we inform, educate, and connect seniors and those who care for seniors to resources. The office number for Kay is 473-7770. We have a slew of sponsors. One of our panelists today that I don't know if he got lost or forgot or just overslept, but anyway, he finally got here. And Troy Denault from Sotir LLC, and we're going to talk about his program a little bit, and something is called Parade of Homes. And most of you think that's going out and looking at homes, but it is looking at homes, but it's looking at homes not in terms of buying a new home, but in terms of finding a home that you can be cared for and an element of care that you need. And Troy is taking a little different approach to this whole thing. Just a couple of other sponsors I want to mention. Zon Beachside Assisted Living, Riverview Senior Resort, and that's for Carrie Troy had a function down there last Saturday that I went down and said a few words because I strongly believe that we need to do a better job of getting information out on where people can be cared for, who are good caregivers, what kind of personal services can organizations do in town, why do you need the right kind of an attorney? Why do you need the right kind of financial advisor? Why do you need so many things, especially chiropractic? Why do you need chiropractic? So that's one of the reasons that we have Brevard Chiropractic and Neurogen Center of Rockledge is one of our sponsors. So I don't have time. If I took that time today, I would just use up all the time because Terry's got a testimony he just received, and he wants to read that to you because it really shows what we're trying to do. But we're going to do that, and then we're going to sort of try to pinpoint Troy down on what he does with his company, Soter LLC, and his Parade of Homes. Kerry, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, this I think Troy could be a good recommendation where your company might be able to step in and help. Just before the break, what we were talking about is the fact that the footprint of helping seniors is growing nationally. So we find a lot of times we get calls or people from out of state, and they're concerned about their parents who live here locally, and they're asking for help. And are we somebody who can help those? So not only are we helping seniors in Brevard County, but we end up helping the oftentimes the adult children of seniors who live here, but they're in a different location, and that's precisely what happened. And I literally got this on the way to the radio station. This is from a very successful general manager of a large radio station in Dallas, Texas, and he was aware of the work of helping seniors, and he basically said, my parents are in Cocoa Beach, and as often happens, I have a father who's an advanced Alzheimer's patient, and while my mom has retained her mental faculties, the stress of managing my father's care is beginning to break her down physically. They have no family in Florida. Their friends are all aging and not able to help them. My mother is also independently minded and resistant to seek professional help. And so he was really reaching out for help, and happy to hear there's an organization like Helping Seniors of Brevard that's the kind of calls Kay will get quite often. Somebody calling from out of state saying, I'm not sure what the resources are, who do we call, how do we work something like that? And actually, Joe, I think that's a great jumping off spot for Troy to explain a little bit about who Soter is and what
Think about
what
that
you
phone
guys
call.
do.
Tell our listeners, Troy, how Soter LLC could help that caller.
You got it. Yeah, it's actually a perfect marriage in with that specific situation, because we do have and work throughout the country. We aren't just housed here in Brevard County, and so it's one of those pieces that if somebody were to call or we were to get information like that, what we would do is we would do an outbound call to that concerned loved one, the one out in Dallas, Texas. We would talk to them first and just kind of say, hey, what's going on? And is it okay to reach out to mom to kind of see how she is? Because we are there's no obligation, no cost, anything like that for us to go out to do an assessment, to be able to sit down and just kind of brainstorm some things. If it is trying to stay home, what tools can we have that are here in the Brevard County area to come in? Is it bringing in a private duty like a Helping Seniors that I know is a sponsor here of Helping Seniors of Brevard, but is a situation like that? Is it something a little more hands-on, where it's a private duty that maybe they do need help with showering? They need help with getting the end of the dad transferred from bed to the chair, whatever it may be. Just those pieces, some of the heavier lifting, hands-on care, grooming, those type of things. If that's not a viable option to keep them safe, or that is not what is needed by that family, then it's looking into the skilled services and looking at your Medicare home care services, which will provide like physical therapists or occupational therapists, nurses, things of that nature to come in for a short period of time, because that's not a long-term answer, but at least it'll buy some time to be able to get maybe some support to get some strength back in those legs, or get some things kind of going positively that maybe we're moving. But if it is something that as things go, we see this as a progressive disease and it's not going to be viable.
But wait a minute. No, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. But what you do is you have already built a knowledge of all these companies that you're talking about and providers. Your company doesn't provide, per se, each individual service.
Correct.
You know a conglomeration of organizations that you can direct the most necessary and needed organization to that family. And I'm aware of a couple of organizations, yours and another organization in Brevard County. And let me tell you, when you have 245,000 seniors in Brevard County, and if this organization works the way we think it's going to work, that we're going to need 4 or 5 companies doing what you do to take care of people, to get them the right service. And our job is to simplify this type of service. Our job is to not make it more complicated. And this is what so many people think, that the caregiver business is complicated. It's actually very simple if you know where to go.
That's right. And it just goes back to who's on the family side of the fence. That's where Sotir is born. It's Sotir Family Advocates. We are advocates for the family, because a lot of times every different individual healthcare organization has their own agenda. But who's on the family side to be able to navigate all of the agenda to say, okay, here's where we're at. We're trying to fight to stay home. Well, we can try this and this and this service to see if they'll work. If they work, great. If they don't, or if it's not viable, or if it's cost prohibitive, like in a situation like this, that if mom needs around the clock 24/7 care at $15 to $20 an hour, that's crazy expensive. There's no way that you can fund that. And so it's one of those that then I say no way, but it's cost prohibitive versus alternatives that are out there. And so, but then it's also looking into other living options, living solutions, things of that nature. But yeah, this organization is about, correct.
That's where you're, I want to make sure we cover all these things. We're going to hit them, and then if we want to go back in detail, we can. But folks, what Troy is telling is one thing, but he's done something a little bit different that I firmly believe that there's nobody else that's done this. You have put together a program that is free. You tell people about it. Tell them why you did it.
We did it in the fact that I think everybody has the psychology or has an image branded in their brains as to what a nursing home is or what an assisted living is. And a lot of times they confuse the two of what is a nursing home and what an assisted living is, which are very different entities. But it's one of those that in creating a situation to where instead of the idea of the white tile floors, off-white walls with the guardrail or handrail that runs the long hallways with everybody in a wheelchair just kind of slunched over, that is the brand that we remember growing up in. I grew up in the Midwest in a farm town in Southern Illinois, and we had one nursing home within like 2 counties. So it was one of those that it's just, I can remember it like it was yesterday, because it left an impression about walking down that hallway with all of those family members slunched over in the wheelchair, and the 5th one in the line was my grandma. And so it was just one of those that had always left an impression. Well, this Parade of Homes, what it's about is, as everything has progressed, every different industry with technology and with the advancements of things and with, everything has moved forward. Well, so has the senior living environment and living options. And where a nursing home of old, maybe assisted living, I say maybe, a lot of those nursing home of old functions and things that they handled can be handled in assisted living now. The Parade of Homes specifically creates an environment to where a group, it's not just one family or 3 or 4 loved ones that are going along that are all getting an opinion on it. It's an entire group that go in to go and see a snapshot. We're for 3.5 hours, we're running around. We get a snapshot of what one of the larger condo style, apartment style, assisted living conglomerates is. The last one we went to was over at Victoria Landing. And it's right there on the river. It's absolutely gorgeous. You walk in and it breaks the psychology. And that is the whole purpose and the reason why Parade of Homes was created, to get people in front of this, to get people the psychology broken so you aren't afraid to go take a look. Just do some research. Get some understanding as to what's in front of you versus I come in with DCF and we're pulling you to the one that is nearby or whatever it may be. Let somebody else drive their own end of life or their own plan for the future. It doesn't even have to be the end of life. It could be the next chapter. If I'm at home and I'm living isolated, to be able to go someplace where I have friends, if I'm scared to go to that place because you're putting me in one of those homes, I'm not going into there. That's not me. But if I turn right around and I go into that place and at least I have a knowledge of what Victoria Landing looks like, well, guess what? It's not so scary to live next to a heated pool right looking at the river that I get to go fishing and I get to talk with a bunch of vet buddies all day long. because Dr. Oz is not my friend. You follow me? So it's just one of those that was the purpose. And then we go from there, we go to a smaller family care home. We go in, and what I mean by that is the same license that hung on the wall there at Victoria Landing was the same license that hung on the wall when we went over to Salis Beachside. That was the second stop that we made. Beautiful environment. It's a family organized, family run. And they do a fantastic job out there. And it's just a different flavor, you know, like, and I say this before to Carrie, you know, you have when you go into a Baskin Robbins, there's 50 different flavors of ice cream. Chocolate.
And they never have the one I want. Yeah. Rum raisin.
Yep.
Raisin.
But no, it's just a different flavor. And then you go to a memory care. And that's what we do. It's just to break the psychology so people aren't so jaded by what they remember their parents and grandparents going through. And in doing it in a group, it doesn't let the sales team or the sharks come in to try to work this situation and try to work it out and put a head in a bed and whatever they want to call it.
Let me ask you a question.
Stay away from all of that.
Have you ever thought about taking your group to a daycare to show them what a daycare can do for them?
Of course. Yeah. There's all kinds of areas to kind of look. Right now, I'm just kind of, because we could do that for skilled nursing facilities. We could do that for adult daycares. We could do that for a wide range of different services. But with this one specifically, I'm passionate about it because it gives somebody a purpose-driven life again outside of the clinical setting.
Yeah, I have always objected to people saying nursing homes, assisted living, and daycare and everything. I like the term element of care. Mm-hmm. I think that if we get our listening audience and our people that might have a need for this type of service to think that they're more responsible for the care than they think they are. You know, if we can show our people the different elements, like staying at a home and going to a daycare 1 or 2 days or 3 days a week, or even going 4 days a week, or staying at home and having a very low-cost service come in and for $30 a day provide 2 hours of service in the morning, and you're talking $150 a week, $600 a month, as to opposed to some of those people are slammed into a nursing home at $8,000 or $9,000 and are in an environment which they don't need to be in yet.
Agreed.
I think that you have to consider, what does a family need? What does a patient need? What can they afford? There's so many things, and this is what Soter does.
That's right. That's why
analyzing.
We get to advocate. We get to advocate for the family on their terms and help them navigate the best care plan for them. And every individual situation is a situation in and of itself. And being able to provide for home care components, unlike a lot of these quote-unquote placement agencies that exist, like you're a place for moms and things of that nature, where they're only geared one direction. They're geared one direction to have people transition into an assisted living. That's it. Whereas we have organized a program to where we do have home care components to be able to bring that into, if you're fighting to stay there, we can do that, while also helping them out with their benefits, because a lot of times we're getting into the financial sides of things, because that's always one of the major points. How much is it going to cost? How am I going to pay for it? Those type of things. Well, if we sit down and we brainstorm those, and I can communicate coming from the industry, well, we can do this, 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 and this. A lot of times, 3 of those options that I provided to them, they didn't even know existed. And so being able to go in and help them navigate those, get those accomplished, and be able to have a buffer of a home care to have that person stay in place while this is happening, you know, it's symbiotic. It is caring about that family on their terms and letting them drive the bus. We're just the tour guide and explaining how this and this and this work and how they interconnect, how the home cares and what's paid for with insurance, what's paid for privately, what's paid, you know, just being able to wrap their minds around every single component of this healthcare system the healthcare system is, because as you alluded to, Joe, there's so many pieces to it.
Yep.
And there's so many angles to run at, and there's so many things to know. And unless you've been in this industry and have dabbled in a number of different areas or been a part of nonprofits and run them to kind of see how they interconnect and where the breakdowns of communication can happen and what their agendas are, who does a good job, who doesn't, those kind of things, you're really not a resource. And that's why this
You're
started.
exactly right. You're exactly right. And there are guardians and there are guardians, and
That's right.
so why not get the best help that we possibly can? Carrie, you're the executive director. Your job now is to do a lot of this stuff. We're doing it on the radio, talking to these people, doing this same thing. Do you believe in the time that you and I have worked together that you're getting a better appreciation for all the needs that need to be addressed, and it's one of the reasons why I have this advocacy program, and this is one of the reasons why you're trying to draw people like Rob, or like Troy, I keep wanting to say Rob, draw Troy into our advocacy group, because we need voices for seniors, and if seniors don't understand, and it sort of ticks me, because I'm 83 myself, and yeah, I know a lot about the home care business. I've been involved in it for a number of years, a large number of years, but there's still so much that I can learn. And if the years I've been involved, if I don't have all I think I need to know, I think about the poor people that are reaching the situation where they need to do what needs to be done and don't know how to do it the right way.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that's we talked about in the first half of the show, what I think helping seniors really does is provides hope, because what we do is expose people to options. And, sometimes if you have a lot of money, you have a lot of options. So when you don't have a lot of money, your options, you really tend to feel that your options are limited. But it doesn't mean that there aren't options that you just are not aware of. And I think that's what's important about what organizations like what Troy does, is he's getting people to understand that there may be things that you haven't thought about that could be a solution to the problem. Like we said, we have right now, as we're talking on the radio, there's a general manager in Dallas who is probably not able to focus as much on his work because he's worried about, well, how is mom going to do? How's dad? I know this is tough. I don't know anybody there. I want to help. I don't know how to help. And here, through one phone call, now is going to have a resource that's going to help that person get that situation resolved in a way that he can feel like he's being to be honest, a good son. And that's the thing. When we give people information, it really empowers them. And that's, I think, so important about what we do. We advocate and we empower seniors.
That's it.
It's ironic that 25 years ago, I was the treasurer for the National Federation of Interfaith Voluntary Caregivers, an organization funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, where we were home-based in Kansas City, and we had 2,500 organizations throughout the United States. And while we were working for the Alzheimer's Foundation, when I was over there, we started a program to try to connect more of these resources together throughout the country, and we got a $10,000 annual subsistence fund helped from the Minneapolis Insurance Company in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to do this. Now, why did they do that? They did it because they recognized the value of getting the name Minneapolis Insurance spread throughout the United States, knowing that if somebody could make a call to them or call some of these organizations, or it had 4 or 5 places to call. We had all the phone numbers at the Alzheimer's Foundation. I can't tell you how many hundreds of people, thousands maybe, that we connected to resources. The big thing is what you're doing, Troy, is you are creating an avenue and opening for people throughout the United States to access people here in Brevard County. And this county, in the time I've lived here since I retired from the Navy, has doubled in size and doubled in the numbers of seniors. So it's only going to get more complex. It's only going to get, on the need for your services is only going to grow more. So how would people contact you? I kind of forget to ask it.
Well, we have a website. We have a phone number. It's one of those that they, by all means, you can reach out to us, and it's at 321-627 426-2232. That would be the easiest way to get a hold of us. Outside of that, you could call Helping Seniors of Brevard, and they could point you our direction.
If you call our number, folks, 473-7770, Kay will give you the phone number, and she can give you the website. Or if you go to Senior Scene Magazine and look in the yellow pages, that's the center section, which is our newsletter. Right. And we've been in business now, opened our doors officially in August of 14. I found out this morning that there have been 907 requests to be sent our newsletter on a monthly basis. Now, folks, number 907 may not seem large to you, but in building a business, all you small business owners, if you had 907 people that wanted to get a newsletter you put out every month, you think about the benefits from that. And we offer sponsorships that will give you access to that same size service, and the lowest benefit is roughly $1,200 a month. So you're going to go get that kind of bang for your buck anyplace else. Troy, you got a few seconds. I'll let you talk here.
Well, thanks, Joe. No, it's just we appreciate the partnership with you guys, helping us spread the word as to what we're trying to do and accomplish for the senior community and the veterans of this area. If there's anybody that needs some help, if you're struggling, if you're an adult child or a struggling senior, a husband, a wife, and you just don't have any answers, don't hesitate to give us a call. We'd be glad to jump in and be there for you.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Gary. But as the music winds down, I just found out yesterday that all people that were stationed at Camp Lejeune from 1958 until just very recently had been subjected to a disease. There are 9 different diseases they could have accounted for by drinking the water there. And if you want information on that, call Kay at 473-7770. And next week I'll give you more information on the show. But I just found out about it, but it's significant. And there are a lot of Marines that went through Camp Lejeune in those years, 30-some years.